Hello and welcome to another episode of Geared Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I am so glad you're here because today we're looking at a brand new knife from a brand new company, or I should say subsidiary. So this is CJRB Knives and they are a budget subsidiary of Artisan Cutlery. Now this is something we've seen from other companies like We Knives has a budget brand, Civivi, and CJRB is the new budget brand from Artisan Cutlery. And they will be releasing 5 models very soon, and I have one of them to show you. And it is the model 1905, and it is called the Centros. And the design may look familiar or similar to something you've seen before. And again, that is the model 1905. This one happens to be in carbon fiber. So CJRB sent this directly to me. It was part of the YouTube Apex Pass Around group. And when I saw the CJRB knives listed as knives that we could kind of opt into, I saw the 5 different models, and I immediately said, this is the one I want to sign up for to take a look at, because A, I like the design, and B, it's designed by a person who I am a fan of. Somebody who I'd call him a buddy, maybe a pal. I don't know if I'd go so far as to call him a friend. So if I called him a friend, I think he'd probably deny knowing me altogether, but it is Dylan Mallory of Mallory Designs, and you can see his name and his logo right there. So Dylan Mallory designed this knife, and you may be familiar with the name. If you've watched my channel, certainly you've seen a number of videos on this design here, which is the Archeo. This is the full size, and here is an example of the small Archeo. It is a different design, the Centros, than the Archeo, but there's definitely some design elements that are very similar. Looking at it, it's kind of obvious that it's a Dylan Mallory design, right? It's got some similar lines to it, but it is different and it does stand on its own. But what I like the most about it that really excited me once I got it in hand is the size. If you saw my last video on the Archeo, I compared the 2 sizes. And what I said in that video is that my wish, if I had a genie, and I had 3 wishes. One of them, well, I don't know if I only had 3, but one of my wishes was that there was an Archeo that was kind of between these 2 sizes, because this is pretty darn small and this is pretty darn large. But that is what it is. Those are the 2 sizes of the Archeo. And when I got the Centros, I was like, well, there it is. There's my my Goldilocks. Not too big, not too small. And I kind of knew the general size from talking to Dylan, but once I got it in hand and compared it to the other 2, I'm just really digging the size. So when can you get this? How much does it cost? And what's the kind of the short version on this guy? So these will be released, according to Artisan, when I talked to them yesterday. And I'm filming this in late August, like the I don't know, I never know what day it is. It's like the 26th maybe. Today's National Knife Day, whatever day that is. It's that day. Today is National Knife Day. So according to Artisan, they'll be released early September. So that's soon, like in the next week or 2, perhaps. I don't know exactly when, but early September is what they said. And the MSRP on the Centros, as you see it here, is $65. And they told me that the street price would be closer to like $40 or $45, which is excellent. The materials we're looking at here on this example are G10 with a carbon fiber laminate over top in D2 blade steel. It will also be available in 3 other options for G10. And those will be black, green, and like a slate blue. And that G10 will look very similar to what we see on the budget version of the Archeo. Very similar texture. As a matter of fact, I think this is the exact same green color that you'll be able to get the Centros in. And if you go to CJRB's Instagram page, which is that, you can see a picture of all of the Centros models and colors. And I think I'll probably be buying the blue one because it looks awesome and I like the design. So that's the Centros. So the short version is this: 8¼ inches overall, G10 and D2. It is a thumb stud opener with a liner lock, a ambidextrous tip-up only pocket clip, and again, street price between $30 and $45. Because if I didn't mention, the G10 versions, just the straight G10, are going to have an MSRP that's $10 less than this. The MSRP on those is going to be $55 with a street price closer to like $35 probably. So we're talking between 35 and 45 bucks for the Centros, which I think is a great price. So let's get a little more detail here. This is kind of an overview, a little bit of a review. I have carried it and used it, and it performs so similarly to the Archeo that it did not take me long to formulate my thoughts on this knife. The blade is a drop point with a very acute tip. It does taper the blade stock towards the tip, but it kind of waits a while before it gets too thin, so it's not super dainty. You don't want to use it as a pry bar, but you definitely don't have to baby it. The finish is a stone wash. If I can get just the right angle, you'll be able to see that stone wash. It looks really nice in person. It's a pretty fine stone wash. It almost looks satin from some angles. If I can get a good angle, maybe I can show it off for you, but well, you can kind of see it a little bit there. Sometimes these stone wash finishes are really hard to show off unless you get just the right angle. I'm having a hard time doing that with some of the shadows, but anyway, that is the stone wash. It has a high flat grind. As you can see, it has dual thumb studs with some jimping up top. So that is what we're looking at as far as the blade. The length on the blade is 3.5 inches, and that's actual cutting edge. So I like that. It's a good size. The handle length is going to be 4 3/4 of an inch, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 3/4. So there's not currently any literature on these, so you're not going to find specs anywhere, even on the Artisan Cutlery website. So this is just kind of what I've measured, right? So 3.5 on the blade, 4 3/4 on the handle, overall 8 1/4. And the weight, as I measured it, was 3.95 ounces. So we're coming in just a hair under 4 ounces on the Centros. The handle I really like. Again, I probably wouldn't choose the kind of laminate carbon fiber. It's just not really my jam. But the overall shape, the comfort, the ergonomics, I'm digging quite a bit. So it has, everything's nicely rounded, which I really like. All the radiuses are, or I should say all the edges are radiused or just slightly chamfered, so everything's knocked off. There's no sharp corners anywhere on any part of the handle, which I love, love, love. And it's super comfortable. You've got a pillar construction with those kind of barrel spacer standoffs, whatever you like to call them. And so that's all good. Obviously stainless steel liners that are not nested. They're also not skeletonized in any way, but at this price point I would not necessarily expect that. So I'm okay with that. It's a liner lock, as you can see. It's locking up pretty early at probably 25%, which I like. It's super easy to disengage on account of that kind of bevel that they put on the liner lock itself. There's enough room to get your thumb in there, and it's just super comfortable to disengage that lock and get this guy closed. And while he is closed, we will take a look at the centering, which is dead perfect. So that's the overall basics on the handle there. And if I didn't mention already, the pocket clip is swappable, as you can see, to the other side for right or left-handed tip-up carry. This deploys with thumb studs, which I love. It seems like everything lately, and I've reviewed a lot of them, is D2, G10, flipper. Those three things seem to just always go hand in hand. And it was nice to see a thumb stud deploying knife, because I do like thumb studs and I don't always need a flipper. And so I was very excited to see that. They work exceptionally well to either use with your thumb or do the middle finger flick if that's your jam. So I'm happy about the thumb studs. Another thing that I'm very happy about is you'll notice the pivot here. You've got your Torx adjustment on this side. If we flip it over, we see Torx adjustment again on the other side, which is like my favorite. I've talked about this before. My preference is this. I'm not a huge fan of decorative pivots or captive pivots. I like to see Torx adjustments on both sides. That has always been my preference. And so when I saw that, when I took it out of this box and I saw that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is amazing. Thumb studs, no flipper, and I can adjust the Torx on both sides. Sold. So love that. The action is fantastic. It's on ball bearings, which a lot of knives these days are. It kind of seems to be the standard now almost. And so for that reason, it's obviously going to be nice and smooth, and it's just kind of drop shutty. Once you disengage it, it's just, you know, very smooth. So no real surprises there, but it is nice that it has a smooth action. So overall, I'm a fan of the aesthetics. I'm a fan of the blade shape, the length, the materials are fine, the action's great, the lockup's nice and strong, it carries well, not super deep, but I mean, you're gonna have just a hair sticking out. So might as well call it a deep carry clip. Not my favorite style clip. It's kind of a generic shape that you see on a lot of knives these days, but it is what it is. So overall, I'm very happy with it. It performed just fine. Opening packages, opening mail, food prep, everything I use my knives for, I used this for almost 2 full days, and it did everything. It performed very similarly, as I mentioned, to the Archeo. So if you like that design or the way those knives perform, you'll definitely like the Centros. As far as ergos, it's very comfortable, again, on account of those rounded over edges. The jimping is damn near perfect in that I can ignore it and run my finger past it, but if I put a little downward pressure, my thumb locks in and it goes nowhere. In a hammer grip, when I squeeze as hard as I can, I do not feel the pocket clip. It lands in a natural void in my palm. If you told me there was no pocket clip on this knife, I would believe you. So ergos for me are really good in a saber grip, pinch grip, finger on the spine, you know, everything for me is nice and comfy. The action, it's fun to play with, open and close. So overall, I think it's a winning design, and I think CJRB is going to definitely sell some knives. Again, they have 5 models coming out. This is the one that I happened to choose, that I wanted to look at. The other 4 have all been sent out to other members of the pass around group, so you may start seeing those videos if you subscribe to some of those people. And I do know that Lee over at Love Them Knives, he has all 5. And I think he got them directly from CJRB, so he has all 5 of the new models, I believe. So I would imagine he'll do a video pretty soon showing the other 4 models that you can get from CJRB. And again, these should be available early September at a price point between, say, $30 and $45 roughly. So that's the skinny on the CJRB Centros, designed by my pal, I'll call him, Dylan Mallory of Mallory Designs. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.